So I had to put on the gamer hat for y'all for this one. Shout out to Captain Sensation, aka Other Yellow Hat Guy, for the challenge. So I guess this is challenge accepted. Let's get started. All right, so here's the challenge. So this is a challenge that's going around from YouTuber to YouTuber. So Captain Sensation gave me this challenge, so I'm gonna go ahead and roll with it. So basically, it's to list your top 6 consoles of all time, or really the consoles that you own, preferably, that based on design, not by their library of games, not what you prefer to play, just based on the design of the consoles by itself. So here's my top 6. So let's start at the bottom. Number 6.
Number 6.
Of course, the Genesis, man. I've got fond memories of that console. So the Genesis had that bubble dome. That was kind of like your Nike Air bubble of game consoles. That was the signature mark that Sega did. I mean, if you look back at the Master System, they had like that whole pyramid top, and I think they just decided to curve it out some, and that kind of became the staple for a lot of Genesis consoles going forward after that. So with the Genesis, you did have your 2 ports, which is kind of typical, your 2 controller ports, just like the NES and the SNES had. They had 2 controller ports. However, one thing that made the Genesis different is that it had a headphone jack and a lever to adjust the volume, or a toggle or switch, whatever you want to call it. But I loved that console. It's like it was the epitome of that 16-bit generation. Of course, you had the other people that loved Super Nintendo, but I don't have that original Super Nintendo model, but I love the Genesis, and I loved the little contour of the shape of it. So that was my number 6.
Number 5.
Number 5. Number 5 is actually this boy right here. The Sony Vita. So, or the PS Vita, however you want to call it, PlayStation Vita. This little handheld thing was something special. When you look at it, it had 2 thumbsticks. It's got 2 thumbsticks on it, so you could play shooter games or whatnot. It was literally like a PlayStation 3 in your hands, and you can just take it anywhere. So you had, this thing was fully loaded though, by the way. I mean, you had a rear camera, you had a front facing camera, and you also had little touch pads on the back, so that they were like little sensors, and you can use those as buttons for certain games too as well, either buttons or gestures, but they were input sensors that you can use for in-game stuff. You had stereo speakers on this thing. You got a mic to be able to chat with people online when you're playing games online. It just literally had everything that you would want. Also, it charged by micro USB, which was fascinating. And this was the 2nd gen Vita. The first one had its own proprietary charger, but this thing was a beast, like a low high-key beast. And I'm gonna actually do a separate video on using this thing in 2020 and how well does it hold up. But this thing is a certified beast.
Number 4.
Okay, so number 4. Let's go ahead and visit Nintendo for a little bit. So number 4 is none other than the Gamecube. The Gamecube had 4 ports. I mean, of course, you had that staple color purple, but the one I have is in black. I think those are the 2 that I would rock with, but I think what's popular now is that orange one or whatever for some reason. And I guess that's just a collector's thing, but black and purple are kind of like my 2 go-to colors for it. So I only have the black one. But what made the design a little bit unique with the GameCube is it had that little handle on it. So if you ever decided to take it to one of your homeboys' crib or something like that, you can just grab the handle and take it with you. You also had some expansion ports on the bottom, so you could actually buy an optional broadband adapter or modem, like a 56K modem adapter, and plug that in there at the bottom. as well as they had another accessory for the Game Boy player, so you can actually play your Game Boy games on the Cube. You had that little push button thing. This was, I think, Nintendo's first CD-based console. So you had these little mini discs that you just press the button, pop it over, and you had these little mini discs that you could play. And it was very unique for its time. You know, it had, like I said, once again, those 4 ports. They also introduced the Wavebird wireless controller standard that we kind of use now. But that's neither here nor there. But the console itself, it was definitely very unique. So that's the Cube. That's my number 4.
Number 3.
Number 3. This thing was following up from the Vita. This thing was a certified beast as well. The backwards compatible PS3 in piano black. I know a lot of people clown the PS3 when it first came out, and they said it looked like a George Foreman grill, all of that. But I honestly think I like the curves. I mean, I probably clowned it back then, but now I absolutely love that console. It was, once again, another fully loaded balls to the wall console. It had 4 USB ports on the front. It had hideaway memory card slots that were kind of like tucked underneath the flap. It had that glossy look, that glossy black piano look, and I think that was the actual name for the color of it. I think it was called piano black. But I loved that console. It just had everything, you know. It was one of Sony's probably most expensive consoles, like, to date. Like, I think this one was like over $600 when it came out. So yeah, that PS3 was an absolute beast.
Number 2.
So now we're down to the top 2. Number 2 is the Sega Dreamcast. So that Sega Dreamcast, even the colors they chose, they had 2 options there. You had the Sega Sports Edition black, and then you also had, which was the base model, you had the creamy white color. So the one I have is just the creamy white. Of course, you know, in 2020, it's starting to, the color's starting to fade a little bit. It's becoming off-white. But that creamy white and gray combination was epic. Like, I mean, and it was much smaller than what people thought it was going to be.
Hey, that's what she said.
Because we watched the magazines. I mean, we read the magazines and everything, and they were showing pictures before it came out. And we were thinking this thing was going to be huge. But when it came out, it was definitely very compact. And, you know, once again, you had 4 controller ports. You had a 56K modem that came with it. And you also had an optional VGA cable or VGA adapter that you could plug in and play your games at a higher resolution. So Sega was definitely thinking forward with this console. It was just unfortunate that what happened with it when it died. So, you know, they just kind of phased themselves out of business, and that was their last console. But that forever has a place in my heart, that Dreamcast.
Number 1.
All right, are you ready for number 1? I think some people are gonna be mad. I think some people are gonna be mad at my number 1, but my number 1 pick is actually the Sega Saturn. And why would I pick the Sega Saturn over the Dreamcast? Just because there would be no Dreamcast without a Sega Saturn. I mean, not only that reason alone, but I think the curves and the design, like I said, once again, the look of it was just a little bit more appealing for me. Like, back in the day, I guess it may have something to do with the fact that I never had one when I was younger. The Sega Saturn was just so expensive. I think most people didn't really have it. I didn't know anybody that had a Sega Saturn. And it was a very short-lived console, kind of like the Dreamcast, but it had those curves. It had that slight bubble. Once again, the Dreamcast, like, they kind of killed the bubble. It was like a flat top, but the Sega Saturn had that pronounced curve right over the top, that little mini dome, and it kind of reminds me of like a Bugatti Veyron. So it kind of has that sports car look that just, it looks aggressive but subtle at the same time. Like, that Sega Saturn was definitely like a classy looking, sporty looking console at the same time. Like, I don't know. I just don't have any words to say for that. I know it doesn't really have that many features or anything, but just the look of it was just very appealing to me. And still to this day, it's still more appealing to me than the Dreamcast. So that's it. Those are my top 6 consoles. So I guess I have an obligation to pass this challenge on. So I'm calling out Sean Brooks Media, aka Sean Be Nice, whatever you want to call yourself. Technoid, I'm shouting you out. And also T5 Tech. So all 3 of y'all, I'm shouting out y'all to do this challenge because I got shouted out to do this challenge. So if this is your first time checking out the channel, feel free to subscribe, like the video, put any comments down below. What are you guys' top 6 consoles? Anyways, once again, definitely drop a comment. I respond to comments. And stay tuned for more videos. Definitely hit that bell icon. And I will holler at you guys later.